first thing you want to do when you want to create a repository is to set up your physical layer. So let's do it. I'm opening an online connection to my BI server, and here I see the default metadata that's available for the sample app that is that gets applied when you install OBIEE. It consists of the 3 layers, and we'll start focusing on the physical layer. Now, if you want to create metadata in the physical layer, you can right click and say, I want to introduce a new database. Let's call it DB. Over here you can define which type of database this is. Let's use an Oracle database. You can do all kinds of settings. Okay, now every database has got a connection. For that you need a connection pool object. So let's create one. Over here we can say, can specify the data source name, how to connect to the system. So for instance, this name, we want to use this username and password. Do more settings, create connection scripts. Okay. So now I've got a database, a connection. The next thing to do is to create a new physical schema, because every Oracle database has got a physical schema, and then physical tables, which consist of physical columns, and so on. So you can build the complete metadata from scratch within OBIEE. An easier way to do this is to import all this stuff. Not all the sources support this, but a database usually supports metadata import. And to do this, we go to File and then Import Metadata. Now this is a wizard, consists of a few steps. We want to import through the remote server. We're going to import from an Oracle database called ORCL using the order entry user. Now we can select which types of metadata we want to import, so tables, keys, foreign keys, and we might want to include views and other types of objects. A good practice in building BI metadata is not to import your foreign keys, because the foreign keys define how tables are joined. It can be very useful to import them, but it can also be dangerous. So I prefer not to import them, and to have full control over which joins get used in the queries that I want OBIEE to generate on my source. Keys I would like to have imported if they are available for the objects. So now the system retrieves the tables that are available in my database, and I'm interested in tables from the OE schema and in tables from the HR schema. So I select one and import them, and now the system asks me to create a new connection pool object, because that is necessary before for a functional physical database, and it automatically populates it with the correct values. So OCI, data source ORCL, username OE, and the correct password. So I accept them. And now the system has imported under a database called ORCL all the HR tables. Now I also would like to have the OE tables. So here we are. So here we have a new physical source called ORCL with the correct connection pool, schema objects underneath it, new table objects with columns and keys imported. So if I double click a country table, I can see that it consists of these columns. It has a column named primary key named country ID, and there are currently no foreign keys in related to this table. That's also because I did not import them. Before we continue, let's save this stuff. Okay. Now, after the import, all the objects that are listed here can be expanded. You can have a look at which columns are over there. You can double click an object, modify its properties, and this is also holds for the columns. You can modify the data type and so on, the nullable value. Another thing you can do is create new tables, create new views, even though they are not available in the source. Remember that this is metadata, which is data about the source, which is stored in Oracle BI, but it's not necessarily the same as what is really physically available in your source. This also means that we can delete objects without deleting the actual objects, and for instance, we don't want to report on the following tables. So I delete them. Promotions, purchase order. And in this way our schema is a bit more simplified. Now, let's add the foreign key relationships to the schema. These are the joins between the tables, and they allow OBIEE to generate queries with relations between the tables. So, suppose a table has a foreign key. We can add it by opening the table object and going to the foreign keys tab and say I want to add one. Now, we select the table it refers to, so every order item has an order associated with it, and based on the order ID name in both the tables, OBIEE makes a suggestion of the correct foreign key. We can also select other columns if we want a different expression, or edit the expression in the field over here. So let's say OK. The foreign key automatically gets a name, and if we select OK, the foreign key between order items and orders has been added. Now, next to looking at your model in this tree view, you can also view a diagram of the model by selecting the physical diagram of the selected object, which is currently the OE schema. And if we take a look at that, we see that indeed between order items and orders a foreign key relationship has been added. Now, every order is placed by a customer, so there's also a foreign key between orders and customers. And another way to add it is in this diagram view by saying I want a new join between orders and customers. And in this case, the customers table and the orders table is already selected, and customer ID is used as the join column. So I accept this. From now on, there's a foreign key between orders and customers. Of course, this foreign key is also available by opening the orders table, and you see that the orders foreign key is available and that it points from orders to customers. Adding the remaining foreign keys of the sample dataset is a repetition of the previous steps. So let's do that at lightning speed. Here we go. Now, let's see if we can achieve the same thing by importing the schema with the foreign keys. So I'll delete the metadata about the database ORCL and I'll start a new metadata import. I enter the right credentials. Importing tables, keys and foreign keys this time. And let's select exactly the right objects. I would like to have countries, departments, employees and locations. And I would like to have customers, inventories, order items, orders, product information and warehouses. The system asks me to create the connection pool again. OK. So there we are. And now we have the new database with the same tables. Let's save it. And let's have a look at the physical diagram of the selected objects. And there we see if we collapse them all, do a layout and a fit, that we have basically the same information. Let's position it right. So we've got customers, orders, warehouses, order items, orders. Inventories. Employees that work for departments, which are in locations, which are in countries again. So by importing, if your source contains the correct physical foreign key information, importing it results in the same metadata as we made manually.